Welcome to Track Limits and Emotional Damage, a podcast where the racing is fast and the coping mechanisms are, well, developing. I'm Billy, and this is my sister Sammy. And every week we're bringing you the highs, the lows, and the questionable strategy calls of the absurdly unnecessary emotional investment that comes with loving Formula One and all things racing. We'll break down race week, we'll celebrate the chaos, unpack the moments, and have us yelling at the TV like we're on the team radio. Expect hot takes, sibling banter, and the kind of millennial reference that make you feel both seen and personally attacked. So buckle up, stay between the white lines. This is Track Limits and Emotional Damage.
Nailed it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think if this is going to be our first podcast of this version, I think it would be very fitting to start with who's your favorite driver? Why do you like him? Let's go. Yes.
So my favorite driver is, I cannot say his first name. I'm not even going to try, but we just call him Botas in this household.
Valtteri.
He's Valtteri. He's, I think, he's a good driver. But then when he debuted his mullet, I was like, this dude's my speed. Seeing his confidence spike because of it, I was like, he's funny. I don't know. Like, I think personality-wise, I just vibe with that. And then I think, like, obviously, skill-wise, I think Max Verstappen is really good. I think that's just because he can literally start anywhere in the lineup and make it to, like, the top three, which I think is super impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I think, for all the kind of drama that kind of surrounds him in last season with Red Bull, I do think that Max Verstappen is a genuinely really good driver. And there's not a lot of drivers on the grid that are like him. For me, I am a huge Lewis Hamilton fan. I've always been a fan. It's funny because I dropped off of watching Formula One kind of like the mid 2000s and then have recently kind of got back into it. And it's funny because he was driving then and now he's still driving, which is really cool to see. It's also really cool to see him, one of the few drivers that has, 7 world championships. I would say 8 with an asterisk, right? But it's really cool to see all the things that he does. He's a very big personality, but he really seems to care about just everything and anyone versus it's laser focused on the racing. So I've always enjoyed watching him as class act all the way around when it comes to how he interacts and who he is. It seems like he's just a genuinely decent human being, which is really cool to see. So he is always, and I'm hoping with the new regulations, because Ferrari knows how to live in that gray area with their cars, I am hoping, and I was joking about it the other day with these new regulations and Adrian Newey going from Red Bull to Aston Martin. Are we going to see a title fight between the two oldest drivers, Alonso and Hamilton, this year, right? That's the funny bit. I'm like, we're going to have there's a possibility that every millennial is going to be activated by this season if those two teams have decent cars. Lance Stroll, I'm sorry, Formula One doesn't even follow Lance Stroll, so that enough there. But I think it would be really hilarious to see an Alonso and Hamilton title fight if both of those cars are cooking this new season.
I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah. I do agree with Valtteri Bottas. I'm so excited to see him back this season for Cadillac. It'll be really interesting to see how adding that 11th team to the grid plays a part. It's really interesting how they're going to be shifting how the quali works, it looks like. I think that there's a few changes that they're making because they now have 22 cars versus 20, and it starts to get really bunched up, I think, was the concern. But yeah, I think what's fun is obviously the season kicks off in the next week. But I think to kind of get started, I think we should really let's talk about last season, Drive to Survive. Just do season 1 or episode 1. And I'd love to get, your thoughts, things you were like, oh, I didn't realize that those were going on at the end in the background, or, love to just chat about it.
I thought it was interesting how they announced the teams where they did it all together. And then I found it slightly funny that they booed Chris Horton, but like
Christian Horner,
Christian
yeah.
Horner,
Hmm.
he like is like he walks out and everybody's like boo. I don't know.
Hmm.
Obviously I like Red Bull, but I don't.
Hmm.
I'm like I feel kind of indifferent about him as the
Hmm.
team principal. I think he does some good things, but he might do some weird things off track. But
Hmm.
we don't need to get into that. But I thought it was good. I do think it's really interesting how many rookies they got going on this
Hmm.
year or
Yeah.
last year with the
Yeah, I
six
think
new rookies. I think
yeah, and that
that brings
was
a different dynamic to the track.
and that was a big like, that many new rookies on the field was really like it's going to be like just wacky racing, or it's just we're going to get some
Mm-hmm.
really good racing. And it was really cool to see like Bortoletto and Hadjar and
Mm-hmm.
all these rookies really come into their own. And it's tough stepping up from Formula 2 or 3 into these like supercars basically comparatively. And it was really great. I mean, obviously Isaac Hadjar got promoted to the Red Bull seat for this season because of how well he was doing. I will say it was really cool seeing all the rookies and trying and kind of getting to know them
Mm-hmm.
outside of what you see on F1 TV. It's a bummer that Drive to Survive is not in more of a like real time episode drops
No,
after the race. I know that would be
that would be
wild for that
cool.
they would have like a production crew like just going nuts trying to get that out in time. But it would be really cool to have more real time to be able to like see that behind the scene. Okay, we just watched the race. It would be really cool
Mm-hmm.
to see the behind the scenes of that race. So it is still neat to see that. And even with especially with Australia, they obviously in this one after doing the whole debut and all the new people, then they showed Australia, and well, it kind of was wacky racers.
Yeah.
It was raining and everybody was all over the place and into the walls. And I think only 14, only
Yeah.
14 cars finished that race. So basically, if you finished, you had a pretty high chance of actually earning points, which is pretty cool. So, but no, it was really good to see kind of get to know the different people. And obviously Netflix and Drive to Survive will frame it in a way that,
Well,
makes
yeah.
for better TV. And, obviously we all know, kind of what happened to Christian Horner mid-season last year. And it's interesting how they frame it in later episodes, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to talk about in a later recording. I will say the other
The
thing that is really
foreshadowing.
interesting, huh?
Is that foreshadowing?
Yes. Yeah, it's without giving away too much of I'd love to talk about it because talk about it when we get to that episode. But I think it's one of those things where like he was really disliked, but at the same time like there's a lot of drivers that owe their seat in the grid to Red Bull and the Red and what he built at Red Bull. Now, do I agree with the like ruthless tactics and the things that seem to really make people angry? No, but I that is just that's the team. And as soon as Yuki for this last season, as soon as Yuki got promoted, I was like, bro, don't do it. That car is not good. It's built to. I mean, Max Verstappen was having so many issues driving that car last season, and
Mm-hmm.
he is the top of the
He's
top.
the
And
top, yeah.
so it was a bummer to see Yuki get pushed back down to Red Bulls for this upcoming season. And it'll be interesting because I know him and Liam Lawson really, it was the Liam Lawson got the first 2 races, and then Yuki came in, and then now they're pushing them all down to their sister team and bringing up Isaac Hadjar. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic between Racing Bulls and Red Bull this coming season.
I do think it's interesting how Red Bull is different in their contract of like they just move you if you're not performing, they move you.
Mhm.
I do think that's pretty ruthless. Like I feel like sometimes they don't give a driver a whole season to really work things
Mhm.
out, and they're just like cut, bring up the next guy. But it
Mhm.
creates a different like team dynamic.
Well, and past drivers that have been Red Bull, I mean, like Danny Rick, is a prime
Hmm.
example of just getting completely run over by the Red Bull teams, to the point where when they asked him if he wants to go back to Formula One, he's like, no, I'm done with it. And he was such a great driver and such a fun personality to watch. The Drive to Survive seasons with him in it are all hilarious.
I mean, who's your like outside of Lewis Hamilton? Who is your kind of like top three drivers?
So I would say that my top three drivers, outside of Lewis Hamilton being kind of my favorite, I would say Ollie Bierman. I think he is going to go on and do amazing things. My prediction is that if Lewis Hamilton retires in a year or so, Ollie Bierman will move into that spot, and I think that's a really cool like legacy. I was talking about it the other day with Emily, and it's a really kind of a cool legacy of that progression because I really think that of all the rookies this last season, although technically I don't think it was considered his rookie season he drove because he drove the season before.
It was his full, yeah, like this is his first full season.
Yeah. I would say I think he's gonna do some really cool stuff. I do like I like Nico Hulkenberg as well. I think he's just a solid racer, and it'll be really interesting to see how Audi coming into the team and taking over. If we can see, kick Sauber into Audi, if they can be more competitive, because I think given a car, Nico Hulkenberg is very good. He's a very good racer. He's a very solid racer, and he seems like a genuine human. I'm going to add a fourth because I'm excited to see him back on the grid, and that is going to be Checo Perez. I think
Checo.
he got he got a raw deal at Red Bull, and I'm excited to see him come back. And from what I know of racing, back when I used to do fire safety at Portland Racetrack, when Cadillac builds a car and they come onto the scene with it, they build a car. And I know a lot of people like, oh, give them a hard time, and there's no heritage and things like that, which I think is kind of a goofy way to look at it. But I feel like you don't know any of their tactics, you don't know any of their strategy, you don't know any of their equipment, you've never raced against them. And a lot of times when they brought the CTS, the Cadillac CTS, that car into, I don't know what level of Le Mans it is. When they brought that car was just a monster. You had like Corvettes. It was blowing the doors off of Corvettes. And this was basically what ended up becoming like a production four-door sedan was the base. So it was kind of wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's some really good drivers. There's some driver movement. Like I said, Valtteri Bottas and Checo coming back is really cool to see. But yeah, what about you? Who are your top three?
Obviously, Botas is like my favorite. I also really like. Hold on, I have a list below me because I can't remember all their names. Oscar, I don't remember who
Piastri?
was his first. Yeah, Oscar Piastri. I kind of liked him. I think he has that like technical drive that I think he could do well. And then I also like I need like a picture of all of them because I can never remember their names, but like I can see their face.
What team?
I actually, even though he's like old, is it George Russell?
George Russell's like 28.
Okay, no, not that one. I know so much. Hold on, I can like see his face. I think he's kind of funny because he doesn't seem like he knows what's going on all the time.
What's it? Do you know the color of the car?
It's like turquoise.
Turquoise.
Oh, Fernando Alonso. Duh. Not George Russell. Sorry.
George Russell.
George Russell.
I'm sure George
Oh,
Russell
yeah.
will appreciate, to the millions of followers we don't have, that you just
Oh yeah, my opinion
that
doesn't
old
matter.
guy. I will
Old
say
guy.
there
I
is
don't think
that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I like him because he has like the longest standing I mean, I think Lewis Hamilton's close, but he's been racing like 22 seasons or something like that. And I just think that's pretty cool that he's just there like performing and like winning
I think
sometimes.
it was funny last season. When you kind of talk about like how old he is and how long he's been around. I mean, like he was racing before some of the people on the grid were even alive.
Yeah.
And last season, a lot of when all the new rookies were asked like, "What rookie are you like worried about the most?" and all of them were saying Fernando Alonso. This guy's got the most tenured driver in Formula One right now.
It was 2 decades
I'm
or
sure he's
something.
like appreciated that. Yeah, I will say he is definitely a fun driver to watch. He's obviously, if Aston Martin this year can build a car, I mean, everyone's like bringing in Adrian Newey from a technical standpoint. If they can get that car right, it'll be interesting to see how competitive they can be. And like I said, it ties into my like geriatric championship of Lewis Hamilton and Alonso
Yeah.
fighting for a title, which I would love. And the memes are going to be wild, right? I mean,
Oh
there's going to
yeah.
be so many Walker memes and Rascal memes. It's going to be great. I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
I'll probably
Yeah.
make a bunch of them. Not going to lie. So yeah, no, Alonso's a good driver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. And I'm sorry to refer to him as the old guy, but I mean, I just think it's cool. Like he's done what, like 2 decades now worth of racing.
Mhm.
He's seen so many different iterations, cars and standards, and like it's just interesting. And then he just looks like also he doesn't know what's going on all the time too, which I find is really funny too. Like every shot of him, he's just like he's just happy to be there, you know? But yeah, I also think he's a good driver though. I mean, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So since you're such a big Lewis Hamilton fan, do you question his like that he's dating Kim Kardashian?
No, I don't question it at all. The man, if you look at his dating history, I mean, it was Nicole Scherzinger, uh, um, oh man, what's her name? Shakira. I mean, like he has a type.
Yeah.
Let's call a duck a duck. He has a type. So when I was talking to a buddy at work, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Kim K." I'm like, "This is not a surprise. Like, if you know anything, I mean, whatever, live your best life."
I love
But
it.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, it's kind of hilarious, but it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I thought you were gonna like go with like super deep. Like, do you think his move to Ferrari was a good move? Do you think he's even capable of racing because he's
Sorry.
getting up there in age? No,
Yeah,
no.
sorry.
Who he's
Do you
dating?
think his move to Ferrari was like a good move? I
Yes,
I think it was a good move.
I think it was a good move. One, he can say that he drove for. I mean, I know this is wildly speculative, but if he could win this like one more world title at Ferrari, and really with a new regulation change, this is probably going to be his best opportunity. If he could, I mean, it would be wild to be not only probably one of the most accomplished drivers that there are records that he has that'll probably never be beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well as he has won a world championship for McLaren, world championships for Mercedes, and to win a world championship for Ferrari. I mean, I would probably, if he were to win this season, I would probably need to take 2 days off because I would probably be crying those full 2 days. I'd be like so happy when he won Silverstone in 2024. I mean, like he was having a bad season at Mercedes. He was having a tough season at Mercedes, and like I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, as soon as the like national anthem came on, I was just like, I need to like look away. I was like
So
so
funny.
happy for him because it just like it seemed like he just needed that win. You're like, you're like, bro, you okay? So, and I know a lot of people are like, well, he gets paid a lot of money to go fast. Well, yeah, I get that, but like,
Yeah, but he
there's
has
a lot of
skills
emotions,
too.
and there's a lot of
Yeah.
emotions in this sport. And I think that this last regulation change, the like with the like the way that they're doing the arrow, like the old regs that they're just now sunsetting. I think that that's just not a type of car that is suited to his driving style. So with them taking away a lot of that extra stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and really kind of streamlining it and making and I the ground effect era, I think he'll be competitive. They're also like they changed up a lot of the stuff. The Ferrari steering wheel last season had like a trillion buttons on it, right? Whereas now it's down to like 4 buttons. So I think him
Yeah.
influencing the team to try and bring best practices of like we don't need this. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I just hope he has a better season than last season because if you are a true Lewis Hamilton fan, that was a tough season.
Which I'm not. So,
Yeah, there you
um,
go.
those
I'll
are
make sure to tag. I'll make sure to tag him for that too.
no. You're not tagging anybody.
Sammy here. wants to make sure that George Russell knows he's that old guy on the grid, that
Old, sorry.
Alonso looks lost, and Hamilton
My opinion is what it is, and it's just my opinion.
allegedly.
Alleged. Not trying to start rumors. George Russell. I mean, he has like an old person name. Like,
He does come across as kind of villain-esque. I pulled his signature in one of the card packs that I opened, so that was pretty cool. I'm
that's
definitely going to hold on
cool.
to that because I think if Mercedes comes with a good car, he might be competitive as well, and I
Hmm.
wouldn't count him out for the season. He's a solid driver, and he puts up good results when he
He
really
does end up
connects.
in the wall a lot, though.
Yeah, it's either that or it's a silly mistake into the wall at the last turn, like it was at Bahrain last 2 seasons ago. Yeah, you're like, what? I feel like
It happened.
I feel like you're doing so good, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna throw it all away.
I'm
But
done.
I can imagine that it's probably more than just okay, oopsie.
Yeah.
But
Can you go into detail for everybody in the room about the new change that you keep mentioning?
yeah, so 2026, for those that don't know, they're changing up the regulations. They do it fairly often on like how the car is built, what it's built. Formula One right now has a big push to, I think it's net zero by 2030 when it comes to emissions. And so, really, what they're kind of really forcing a lot more battery usage, as well as it's interesting because they're getting rid of DRS, but they're calling it active aero, which is just DRS with a new name. But now we have front and rear splitters are moving. There's also a boost button, basically like a battery where you can use the battery kind of more throughout the race to really kind of help get up and go. It seems like a lot of teams were kind of struggling right off the get-go with the engine side of it, of getting performance, and obviously there was some controversy. I don't know if it's still going on or with Mercedes and the compression ratio of the cylinders. That's the one thing I love about Formula One is everybody is cheating or everybody is trying to cheat, right? Like there is like, I mean, it makes me laugh because, Ferrari, like, I feel like they're like the biggest offender of a lot of these things where they're, like doing these like, oh, this is a very, very, like they're not gray. They're like, I mean, they're
They
just
ride
on
the
that,
line.
like right where
Yeah,
the colors change on that line sometimes. So it'll be like I said, if anybody's gonna have a good car, it's gonna be Ferrari because I feel like, and those engineers know. Okay,
for
it's
sure.
also cool because they did bring over a couple engineers from their WEC car that won at I think Le Mans. And so they have a little bit more engineers that know, have a little bit more background maybe in cars and how to design a car that maybe doesn't have as much aerodynamic utilization as the previous season. So, but yeah, that's really just the cars will be a little bit smaller. They won't be as fast, which is kind of a bummer. Not that like the difference of 200 and 210 miles an hour is a noticeable difference to us mere mortals, but I do think that the we're not going to really see any like records getting broken because of that,
Hmm.
which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
But it's also good for Lewis Hamilton because a lot of his records, like I said, will continue to never be broken. I think there's a lot of mixed emotions on the change. Obviously, if you are a fan of a specific driver or a specific team, you want the regulations to work best for you. But realistically, I think we're going to see Australia is going to be kind of a. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another. I mean, if we get rain, if it's another wacky racer go round of just everyone trying to figure it out. I know there's been some concerns about the front arrow. If that doesn't, if you're going 180 miles into a turn and that thing doesn't work, you just lost all your downforce as you're trying to make a turn, and it could be really treacherous really quickly. So it'll be interesting to see. It seems like everyone's doing well though, with all the preseason testing that just happened, as well as we'll definitely. I mean, everyone's got to have a car next weekend, so buckle up.
Do you want to talk about your predictions for next year since we're kind of already on that topic?
Yeah, yeah. What are your predictions?
I think there'll be like some crashes, and then I also think somebody's gonna get mad, and then somebody is gonna win,
Whoa,
and then I think the McLaren team principal will cook like a mean brisket.
that every other one but that last one was very specific. I feel like, do you like secretly follow Zach Brown's secret Instagram of him making brisket? Like, I don't know
No,
where that
he
connection.
has that like that vibe of like that guy smokes some brisket on the weekend. Like, does he not? Like,
He
sorry.
does. Yeah,
I mean, he just has that vibe. I don't know.
I can see that. Yeah, yeah. I do agree with most of your predictions. I think you're probably 100% spot 100% spot on with the first ones. The brisket one may be a little. We'll have to prove out, but we can always just
You
ask.
never
You
know.
know,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Hey, what's your brisket recipe? I let's be real. Like, I am super new to the sport. Obviously, I watched the Drive to Survive. Surprise. I don't know.
Try.
What's it called? I watched. uh, I'm
I'm
still,
glad you came prepared for this test.
but this is yeah, it's fine. This is my first like live watching of a season.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously we grew up with indie, and
Hmm.
I'm not like a total noob, but the whole F1 global
Hmm.
portion of it is a little bit newer to me, and so I think your predictions are probably a little more what people want to hear.
I think
I'm sure scandals.
maybe they'll change the direction of a track, go backwards. I don't know. There's a lot of cool things, a lot of crazy things. No,
Do it in
I was
reverse. Like, I'll just
well. That's like when I'm excited to when we get to the Monaco episode because a lot of people, have theories on how to make Monaco a more fun race to watch. So we'll have to pull up all the like suggestions of how to make Monaco a better race, and then we'll have to like we'll discuss through them. It'll be a fun episode. But I would say my prediction, I think that we're gonna see some less dominant teams become dominant because of the regulation change. I also think that we're also going to see, some really good rookies, in their second year. I'm really excited to see like how Bortoletto is doing this season. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Ollie Bierman, so I'd love to see. I would be just thrilled to see him on the podium at some point in this season, which would be, I think he's 100% capable. And Haas is like one of those teams that they don't exist, and then all of a sudden they're like, where did these guys come from?
yeah.
Like, who are you? And
Who was
so,
that? That was Gunter.
so no, Haas is. Well, I don't know who the team principal for Haas is. Gunter, he left. He ended up going on and doing. He just does commentary now, but I think he was sacked
Uh,
from. But he was at Kick Sauber, I believe. I may be incorrect on that one. I don't. Yeah, I don't know who the. And it's probably someone that I recognize. But yeah, team principals are kind of weird because like Zach Brown is the CEO of McLaren, but Adrian Stellar is the actual like team principal, right? So
mm-hmm.
whereas like Toto Wolff for Mercedes is team principal and basically the owner of the team. So it's interesting for like those that and then like Adrian Newey came on to Aston Martin, and they actually promoted him to team principal for this new season. So that'll be interesting, as well as I do think that Laura Meckes, who was promoted from Racing Bulls into Red Bull when Christian Horner left, I do think he is going to make Red Bull a better place to work. I think he's a very very well rounded. I think he'll make a big difference in that space, and maybe not necessarily less cutthroat, but really trying to develop the drivers versus
What?
nothing. got me
Sorry.
throwing me off with
I'm
your.
sorry. I can't
Yeah,
help
I don't
it.
think you are. I don't think you are. Maybe developing the car for both drivers as best as possible versus really leaning into just Max Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, I think Max Verstappen is my favorite driver when it comes to like, he doesn't care. Like, I know he rubs a lot of people the
Mm-hmm.
wrong way, but like,
He just wants to
he's just
win.
good. Now, sometimes the complaining when he's not doing well, that gets a little infuriating because it's like you can't be like, I'm going to say it how it is and then I'm going to complain. But I'm finding him more and more hilarious as I watch more Formula One in just how he interacts with the press and how he commentates. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always fun. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a spicy moment from him. I mean, a couple seasons ago, he got into it with George Russell, and then it was him and Lando. So, it'll be interesting to see who his public enemy number one is for this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love it when the drivers are like driving and the team like comes onto the radio and they go, "Leave me alone."
yeah,
I think
go
that's so
away.
funny. Go
Yeah,
away. Leave me alone. I find that so funny. Or I love it too when like the drivers will say something like totally obscure or as a complaint or whatever and they go, "Okay."
yeah,
Just like move on.
yeah.
Like I think that's such a funny like, dynamic.
Yeah. Well, Ferrari is the best because they're like, the drivers are asking them questions. They're like, "We're checking.
Yeah,
Hold
I
standby.
know.
We're checking. Should I pit? Standby. We're checking."
Hold on.
like,
Oh, wait, you're
like I don't
asking
know if
me?
there is their like strategy team connected via dial up or something because they're like, "Oh, we need a strategy call." Oh, it's gonna come through soon. Oh, wait, the internet's down. Fax it
It's
over.
like a
Fax it
fax
over.
machine. Yeah, it's just
There's
printing
just
out.
like there's just a guy in a Ferrari outfit that's just sitting by the fax machine. Job is to grab the piece of paper and run it to whoever needs to be run to. Hands it to
Oh my
the
gosh.
wrong team. No.
No, not that team. That's pink.
Alpine's like Hamilton's gonna pit in two laps.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ferrari. Yeah, I will say it's funny. Like I said, Hamilton going to Ferrari there, I know that there was a little bit of heartburn when they made that announcement. I was excited to see it, but like knowing Ferrari, like Ferrari sometimes is their own worst enemy. It's like last the season before they could get their drivers in first, second, third, and then they'd have like a 40-second pit stop because like
Yeah.
someone forgot a tire or something, or
They're
they
just like, "Broop,
brought
broop,
half the
broop."
wrong tires, and then last season their car couldn't get a decent position, but they had like world record pit stops. It's like, you probably should think about all these things as one whole. But that's just me. But they're like, this year we're gonna be good at pit stops. Our car, who gives a shit? Do we have to put four wheels on this thing? I mean, like, we can save a tire if we just put three. So
Oh gosh, that's
yeah.
funny.
Well,
I'm
that's
excited.
my predictions. It'll be interesting to see how this season starts unfolding. I am super excited about the upcoming season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with everything that's new. So
I do too. Cool.
yeah, you want me to wrap it up? Well, thank you for joining us for our first parlay into trying to understand and talk, make it look like we know what we're talking about when it comes to Formula One. Uh, Follow us on all those social media and give us 5 stars if you like the podcast and the silly banter. We look forward to bringing you kind of some fun updates throughout the season while also returning to Drive to Survive the current season to kind of recap some of the more fun and interesting moments of the previous season. So we look forward to having you back.